I'm Randy Davis. I'm the founder. I'm the executive director of A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. We are a participant-driven, faith-based, compassion-filled support recovery movement for those who are battling the battle with substance use disorder/addiction. And we've come here today with that in mind. You just came from the mental health group, yes? We believe a lot of what we're going to share is going to overlap what you have just experienced. And I hope that's the case, because if you're like me, I need to hear something more than once. Most of us usually do. Maybe something will sink in and it'll be of value to you. Let me go ahead and ask you this question. How many of you know someone who struggles with alcohol or drugs? Incredible number. Put your hands down now. How many of you have ever lost a loved one or a friend to alcohol or drugs? Was that fun? No, it wasn't fun. You're going to find out some more of what we don't believe is fun either, that may appear glamorous to the outside world, but as one of them is going to mention, it's the fine print that goes along with the addiction. The stats say that 35% of Indiana high school students report they've used marijuana. Now I know if I ask in here today how many of you have, you're not going to be honest, so I'm not going to ask the question. But the stat says 35%, that's 35 out of every 100. I don't know how many are here for math. Let's say it's 200. 35% would be 70 of you. That's a lot of seats. That's several rows back, okay? 24% of students 9 to 12 report they've used vaping devices in the last 30 days. 13% say they start, guys, hold it. Thank you. Let me go back to that stat. 13% of high school students say they began their drinking at the age of 13. That's younger than most people would expect or think. 25% of 8th graders have abused alcohol at least once. That doesn't mean they've had but one drink. It means they've gotten inebriated, they've gotten drunk, they've gone overboard with it. That's 25% of all 8th graders say that. So instead of me telling you the rest of the stories, I'm going to go ahead and invite Dustin up here to share his story. Dustin?
How you guys doing? I was looking at some statistics yesterday before I came, and as of April of 2021, over 100,000 people in the United States alone had died from overdose or alcohol-related deaths. I was going through Facebook the other day and erasing people that didn't suit my life now that I'm sober. And as I went through there, I kept finding people that had died, and it just blew me away how many people, 30 or 40 people probably, that I erased off my Facebook last week because they're no longer here because of drug overdoses. This is an extremely serious problem, and so I guess I should tell you some of the tragedies that's happened in my life because of drugs. That's my before picture before I got sober. I was taken about 3 years ago. I was the guy who you'd read about in the paper who got caught at the hotel with his wife and kids, and the cops got called and they got arrested for having drugs and needles on me. I was the guy whose kids got taken away. I was the guy who got kicked out of his friend's house for breaking things or acting a fool. I was the guy who would pass out in the middle of the pack-a-sack and fall through the coffee display and get taken to jail. I was a guy who fell asleep driving, wrecked my car, and put my wife in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. I'm also the guy that sent my kids to school in dirty clothes. I'm the guy that sent my kids to school to get made fun of because their mom and dad were drug addicts, and I'm the guy that, I'm the guy that, after their mom died, took the responsibility of their mom not being here anymore. So I know about what drugs can do to your life. So I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna tell you my story of why I started doing drugs. I grew up with an alcoholic mom and dad, right? So alcohol and drugs were never really a big deal around my house. My dad's motto was pretty much, if you can get up and go to work the next day, then whatever you're doing is fine, as long as you take care of your responsibilities and going to work. My dad's motto also was, if somebody doesn't listen, you slap them in the face. I grew up watching my mom and dad fight all the time. So I learned at a very young age to keep your mouth shut unless you wanted hit. When I was in the second grade, I was extremely smart. Smart enough they wanted to skip me a grade and they wanted to put me in my own reading group. And I was also that kid who sat inside during recess and read books instead of going out and playing basketball. I made paper airplanes. I did origami. All the stuff that the nerdy kids did or the kids that weren't cool did, right? So I got made fun of for that. So at a very young age, I associated being smart or trying to do better with getting made fun of. So it was a very young age I quit trying to do anything in life. So I got to high school, right? Probably about, what, you guys, ninth graders? About your age, and I started wrestling, right? And, I was a 4-year varsity wrestler. So I should have been a jock then, right? I should have had a place to fit in, but I didn't fit in with the jocks. I was a smart kid, but the last thing I wanted to be was smart and get made fun of. Most of my friends were hoods from over in Red Key, but I didn't smoke cigarettes and party on the weekends, so I wasn't a hood either. So here I was again, all totally alone, until I met drugs. So when I met drugs, I fit in. I was cool, Everybody liked me. Until they didn't. Until my addiction got so bad that nobody wanted to be around me because of it. And that's when drugs turned their back on me. I'm sure that there's probably a lot of you kids in here today that know that feeling I'm talking about not fitting in, being alone, not being part of the group, not having a group, being on the outside. And there's probably a lot of you that don't feel like you have a voice. But we all have a voice. The reason me and all these people come here to talk is so you have a voice. The reason you have guidance counselors and all the resources available to is so you have a voice. You have people to talk to. You have people to discuss these problems with, so that the option you have isn't turning to drugs to escape the feelings you have. If I would have asked somebody for help, my life might be better right now. But I'm in 12-step recovery, and I do leads every now and again in AA meetings. And when I say my name, I say, "Hi, I'm Dustin. Thank God I'm an addict." Because thank God I'm an addict. If I weren't an addict, if I weren't in recovery, I wouldn't have any message to bring you guys. I wouldn't have any message of hope or message of struggle. So it's through God's grace that I got here. I've overdosed probably 10 times in the last 4 years. And I've been brought back. For what reason? I don't know. The reason today is so I can speak to you guys. So I can try to get the message out there that as tempting as it sounds to try to fit in, try to be cool, do drugs, get drunk, all those things that we do just to be accepted, is it really worth wasting 22 years of your life away? I was in addiction for 22 years. In 22 years, I had 3 kids that I don't have custody of right now. I've got, all these things that I could have done with my life, but instead I stayed in the same spot, so, yeah, I think that's all I got. Thanks.